Right.
Okay.
Okay. So what I'll do, we'll edit this, and then we'll, share it with you,
Okay.
and you can look at it and then, comment on it. But we'll do an edit here and then share it with you,
Okay.
uh, and then we can collaborate on that.
My
Um,
lighting is good, and this could be a video too. Is it okay?
yeah, yeah, I'm recording it as a video and audio. So yeah, you look fine. You look very handsome, Mark.
Yeah. All right.
So what I'll do is I'll do just like a quick intro for you,
Yep.
and ask you to just give a brief little bio for yourself,
Okay.
um, and then I'll ask you some questions. But if you want to take this, on one of my questions or whatever, you want to take it and go with it, feel free to do that. It's very kind of ad lib, if you will. It's
Sure.
not scripted, obviously. So,
Okay.
all right, you all set?
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay. So, thank you everybody for joining another session with Marketers at Home Getting Coffee. Um, Today we have Mark Dancer with us, and he will be talking to us about the transformation in the distribution model. And Mark is founder of the Network for Business Innovation. And so, Mark, thank you for being with us. Why don't you just give us a little brief insight into what you do?
So I was a channel strategy consultant for about 30 years and helped companies in all sorts of industries all around the world. I found that as digital things started happening, that channels needed to change, or you could do different things with your channels. But I also found that companies that really got really good at digital technologies could reinvent their business model. And as a channel strategist, that just fascinated me. So today, I focus on business model innovation by real world companies, right? How they can leverage all the changes that are going on to either tweak or fundamentally reinvent their business model.
Cool, very cool. So, what are the key elements that are causing this change or this disruption in that model?
So if we think about indirect channels, so a manufacturer who sells through distributors or retailers or dealers, there's really three things. One is, business customer buying behavior is changing, just like consumer buying behavior is changing. A lot of that has to do with being empowered by doing things on the internet, doing things digitally, but also just sort of social changes and who people are. Then there is disintermediation is more and more possible. Disintermediation means a manufacturer selling around a distributor. They can put up their own e-commerce sites, and they can do many other things to have, digital marketing to have direct relationship with customers. It's a siren song. It's tempting. They're doing it. And then the main event is disruption, which is companies like Amazon Business or Alibaba coming on the scene and operating from an entirely different business model and creating a place where customers can buy, right? And that's very threatening to the distributors and manufacturers in the traditional value chain.
Hmm. Okay, cool. Um, what are the implications to the OEMs on this for the manufacturers? We've always been in, the previous model. We've talked about it, but who owns the customer?
Right.
Uh, so, what are the implications to this happening, and from an OEM perspective, how are they seeing
Yeah.
this?
Well, there's a couple things. One is if you're a manufacturer of products that are purchased by businesses, right, it's very tempting to sell more and more online, and it can expand your market share and create new direct relationship with customers. But B2B products, are really the brand of B2B products is really created through experiences of users, right? It's not advertising is important, but it's not the same sort of power tool for a manufacturer that it is for a manufacturer of consumer products, right? So manufacturers, as they embrace selling virtually, they have to think about protecting their brand, right? On the channel perspective, I think that the relationship between manufacturers and distributors has always been a little bit contentious. They're different business models, they have different priorities. They both want to own the customer relationship, right?
Mhm.
But the goal of online marketplaces is not to put a manufacturer or a distributor out of business. It's to move their business to their platform where they set the rules. So it's hard because both manufacturers and distributors are trying to figure out what the future holds for them with all of the changes going on. They're really acting in their own interests, but they need to start a dialogue, at least the ones that want to be on the leading edge and kind of leverage it to create even better partnerships. They have to start thinking about dialogue about how does the value chain evolve? How do we share data so the whole value chain can be efficient? How do we rethink creating customer relationships together? What am I investing in? What are you investing in? How do we pay each other? All of that is kind of up for grabs. And I think leading distributors and leading manufacturers and some of the associations that represent them are trying to push that along a bit.
Great. So, this is a question that came up in our group to a degree, but where do you see the distributor value today, and where do you see it going in terms of, the manufacturer versus the B2B buyer or consumer?
Yeah, there's a lot of ways you can talk about that, but one of the ways I talk about it in terms of a distributor's business model is that the real core value that defines them as a business and creates their power or momentum in the marketplace is shifting from the back end of the business to the front end of the business. So traditionally, distributors were basically a warehouse that took orders. They didn't create demand, right? They would serve demand. And that was hugely valuable, right, for manufacturers and for customers. It was customers could go there and buy lots of products, and manufacturers could do things they couldn't in taking products to market efficiently. But if you think about the technology forces of change, e-commerce and artificial intelligence and 3D printing and most of those, and you think about the distributor and the manufacturer business model, especially the distributors, it's about the front end of their business, right? It's about customer experiences, customer solutions. So distributors are figuring that out, and they're thinking about the core thing that defines them as the business and the core value they create as being a customer experience business, right? How do I really help my customers with not just products, but solutions, services? How do I help my customers get to the future because their industry is changing? That's the fundamental shift. The value is going to be on the front end of a distributor's business.
Yeah, that's great. So, final question, just and you broached this in our discussion, but the notion of storytelling and the power of storytelling, and in the context of the transition and cost implications around that, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a cash-based transformation. So, can you talk a little bit more about that?
About storytelling is
Yeah,
why
yeah,
it's important? Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. In some of the work I've done as a fellow for the NAW Institute for Distribution Excellence, I've researched innovation best practices and specifically looked for business model innovation. So I'm not talking about product innovation or technology innovation. How do you innovate your business model, whether you're a manufacturer or a distributor? I'm talking mostly distributors here. And one of the key things I found was that you can't innovate without foresight, right? You have to have an understanding of where the future is going. And I have a very practical definition of foresight. Foresight is the ability to stand up in front of an audience. It could be your customers, your employees, your manufacturers. Somebody doesn't know anything at all about your business or your industry, and to be able to talk for 30 minutes in a way that's interesting and compelling and offer a point of view on where your business is going, where your industry is going. Right? It's happening everywhere with digital transformation and social transformation.
Hmm.
So storytelling is the execution of foresight, really, right? I think of it as also practically as it's sort of as if a tree falls in the forest and nobody hears it, did it actually fall?
Hmm.
If your business is innovating and you aren't through storytelling able to communicate how you're innovating and what the benefits are for your customers, suppliers, your partners, it's
Right.
almost like you haven't innovated at all. Anyway, it doesn't really matter.
Hmm.
So storytelling is becoming, not just a marketing skill, it's a leadership skill. It's a skill for anybody who wants to drive innovations in their business.
Yeah, that's a great way to frame it at the end there in terms of a leadership skill. Um, That's great. As we wrap up, Mark, is there any final comment that you want to make, or any final perspective?
Well, I think that I sometimes get pushback when I talk about innovation because my job is to kind of think over the horizon. And I talk about it like innovation is already here. It's already happening. The truth is, there's a quote out there about bankruptcies. I don't know who said it. I've got to look it up. Where bankruptcies happen very, very slowly and then very quickly, right?
Yeah.
Innovation is kind of like that too. It's happening every day in very small steps, right? But then it can happen very quickly.
Yeah.
And if you look retroactively at Amazon is up now in B2B, I think close to $30 billion in sales, maybe over that.
Mhm.
That's happened over the last, how long has Amazon been around? Close to 20 years, something
Yeah.
like that, right?
Right.
So today it's a huge impact, but it was very, very small for a very, very long time.
Right.
If you're going to think about foresight, if you're going to think about the future, you just have to wrestle with that, right? It's a reality of thinking about innovation.
Yeah. Great. Thank you, Mark. I really appreciate it. Great stuff.
Happy to be here. Really
Okay.
enjoyed the group discussions and happy to join the group for future conversations.
We're happy to have you part of it. All right. Thank you, Mark.
Perfect. Is that a wrap?
That's a wrap. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, it'll be great.
All
Thank
right.
you.
I'll be back in touch with you, and we'll share and we'll collaborate.
Hey, there was mentioned some sort of digital thing for giving input for next week.
Yeah, I'll send that out. Yeah, we're going to be joining. Let me just click something here.
I don't think I have it, is why I'm asking, right? So. And